Hi students, when doing geometry, you will often come across the concept of adjacent angles. This is a very simple concept to understand, but I've often seen many students not being fully clear about it because they've not visualized it in their minds properly. As I always say, visualization is very important if you want to understand any concept properly. So in this video, I will help you visualize the concept of adjacent angles. Let's start with this simple example. Observe the figure carefully. In particular, observe angle AOB and angle BOC. These two angles have the same vertex, the point O. They also have a common arm, the arm OB. And their non-common arms OA and OC are on opposite sides of the common arm OB. So you can visualize these two angles as being right next to each other. And when two things are right next to each other, we say that they are adjacent. Therefore, we will say that angle AOB and angle BOC are adjacent angles. Now, let's take a second example. Observe this figure closely, in which I have highlighted angles POR and angle QOR. These two angles have the same vertex, the point O. They also have a common arm, the arm OR. So can we say that these two angles are adjacent? Think about it for a moment. Well, the answer is no. These two angles are not adjacent, and that's because the non-common arms OP and OQ are on the same side of the common arm OR, and this makes angle QOR lie inside of angle POR instead of next to each other. Therefore, angle POR and angle QOR are not adjacent. This is a mistake that I've seen some students make, but I'm sure that you won't make the same mistake now. Okay, let's go through a third example. Observe this figure now, in which I've highlighted a few angles. We can see that angle POQ and angle QOR are adjacent angles. Similarly, we can see that angle QOR and angle ROS are also adjacent angles. But what about angle POQ and angle ROS? Are these adjacent angles? Well, they do share the same vertex O, but they have no common arm. So POQ and ROS are not adjacent angles. Now, I want to ask you a question, so be ready to do some thinking. In this simulation, angle AOB and angle BOC are adjacent angles. What will we get if we add these two angles? What will be the sum of angle AOB and angle BOC? Take a few moments to think about this. Well, the sum of angle AOB and angle BOC will be angle AOC, the angle between the non-common arms OA and OC. This is true as long as AOB and BOC are adjacent. For example, if I move this non-common arm OA like this, AOB and BOC still add up to AOC since they are adjacent. On the other hand, if I move this common arm OB like this, I am making AOB smaller and BOC larger, but their sum continues to be equal to angle AOC. So remember that the sum of two adjacent angles is the total angle between the non-common arms. So students, that wraps up this short lesson on adjacent angles. As you saw in the video, the word adjacent means right next to each other. And so, adjacent angles are angles that are right next to each other. I'm sure you will find this quite easy to remember.